Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into what honestly might be the ultimate survival guide for the modern digital ecosystem. Look, if you're a startup founder right now, you already know the drill. You expected to move incredibly fast, totally disrupt the market, and somehow do the whole shebang on a shoestring budget while running entirely on caffeine.
Oh, absolutely. The pressure is just immense. It's literally innovate or die out there. And that is exactly why we're unpacking a really crucial new book today. It's called AI Adoption, Driving Innovation in Startups and Entrepreneurial Ventures by Dr. Alaa M. Momani. It's essentially a masterclass in how to separate the actual, tangible value of artificial intelligence from all that deafening hype.
So we've got a pretty tight roadmap for you today to take you from the hype cycle all the way to strategic implementation.
Right, we'll be decoding the AI mandate, exploring AI as a strategic capability, looking at the real drivers and barriers of adoption, figuring out how to overcome those risks, grounding all of this in Middle East startup ecosystems, and then wrapping up with a rapid-fire final verdict. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The central message of Dr. Momani's book is just so powerful, but it's also incredibly grounded. He argues that AI can absolutely drive explosive innovation in startups, but, and this is a massive but, only when it's adopted wisely, strategically, and responsibly.
Exactly. Startups are dealing with massive uncertainty and just intense market pressure. So this book isn't just telling founders, hey, go buy this new software. No, it's showing how AI can actively help them learn faster, reduce that uncertainty, and create disproportionate value when literally every single dollar counts.
Now, before we unpack these strategies, I think it's really worth noting who is guiding us here. Dr. Alaa Momani is a faculty member at Horizon University College in the UAE, and his background is just this perfect multidisciplinary mix for a topic like this. We're talking software engineering, artificial intelligence, project management, and digital transformation.
Yeah, and what really stands out to me is that he's not just sitting in an ivory tower. He's a multiple patent holder. He really focuses on connecting these emerging technologies to highly practical organizational applications. He gets the code, sure, but he also gets the boardroom. And that is exactly the kind of perspective startup leaders desperately need right now.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Decoding the AI Mandate.
To really set the stage here, founders today are operating in this crazy environment of constant uncertainty, super fragile structures, and very limited resources. So naturally, the very first question they ask is AI just another tech tool we need to slap onto our stack?
Well, yes, it's a technology. But here is the absolutely critical distinction the book makes. AI is not just a tool. It is a strategic, dynamic capability. A tool, like your standard traditional automation, well, it just follows rules. But a dynamic capability, that supports continuous experimentation, rapid adaptation, and opportunity recognition. It fundamentally changes how you compete.
To ground us, Dr. Momani offers a really specific definition. He defines artificial intelligence as a broad field of intelligent computational methods enabling systems to learn, reason, predict, interpret, and generate outputs. That word right there, learn, is everything. It's what separates AI from simple, rigid automation. It isn't just doing repetitive grunt work, it's actively adapting to unstructured data in highly uncertain environments, which, let's be honest, is basically the dictionary definition of running a startup.
Moving right along to Section 2, AI as strategic capability.
So let's look at the specific technologies in this intelligent arsenal that startups can leverage to, punch way above their weight class. The book outlines a lean but super potent list. First up, you have machine learning for forecasting demand and predicting patterns.
Right, and then deep learning for handling all that really complex, unstructured data. Plus, natural language processing, which is huge for extracting strategic insights directly from customer feedback.
Then there's computer vision, and of course the big one right now, generative AI for rapid prototyping. That alone can literally save you weeks of design time. These are the engines that allow a tiny, scrappy team of 5 to operate with the output of a team of 50.
They are incredibly powerful for sure, but only if they are applied correctly.
Which brings us to the pragmatist's warning. The book draws a really hard line between real AI adoption and AI hype. Real adoption actively fits your specific business goals, your actual customer needs, and your data readiness.
Right, so just buying a team subscription to ChatGPT does not suddenly make you an AI company.
Exactly. AI hype is adopting it solely because it's fashionable, or, let's be real, to impress venture capitalists. That kind of symbolic adoption is an incredibly dangerous distraction. True value comes from strategic alignment, not just throwing around buzzwords.
That brings us to Section 3, drivers, barriers, and adoption. Now we're looking at the tug-of-war. the battle between why startups want AI and what actually stops them from getting it off the ground. And this brilliantly illustrates it. Dr. Momani shows that true adoption requires perfect alignment across these 4 pillars: venture needs, technological capabilities, organizational readiness, and market conditions. When those 4 things align, boom, you achieve strategic fit and adoption success. But as we all know, achieving that perfect alignment is incredibly difficult. Multiple barriers converge to slow you down. You've got resource constraints, data limitations, because let's face it, startup data is almost always messy, skills gaps, integration complexity, and major trust concerns. All of these arrows point straight to delay and friction.
So how do we fix it? Section 4. Overcoming challenges and risks. Friction is inevitable, but failure definitely isn't. Dr. Momani breaks this down into a really helpful pyramid of barriers. Down at the technical level, you have poor data and integration issues. But look higher up the pyramid, at the organizational and individual barriers. Weak leadership support, lack of an actual AI strategy, and, critically, fear of job displacement or just general resistance to change.
Exactly. It's like they say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. A startup can have literally the best tech stack in the world, but if the team is secretly terrified for their jobs, the whole strategy will completely derail.
And that's exactly why the book provides this responsible AI adoption framework. It proves that AI isn't some dark magic, it is entirely manageable. It forces ventures to look hard at ethical AI use, fairness, bias mitigation, privacy, transparency, and legal compliance.
And why this matters so much for founders is that you can't just move fast and break things when you're dealing with user privacy and algorithmic bias. By putting this kind of governance framework in place early on, you build essential trust with both your customers and your team.
Let's move to how this builds out in practice. This governance framework translates directly into a 7-step AI adoption journey. Notice how step 1 starts with identifying a business problem, not a technology. Then you're assessing readiness, preparing your data, selecting tools, piloting the solution, evaluating the impact, and only then, finally, scaling. It is a highly experimental, gradual process designed specifically to protect a venture's limited resources. Okay, Section 5, Middle East Startup Ecosystems. Now, what's uniquely valuable about this book is that it doesn't just recycle the exact same Silicon Valley case studies we've all heard a million times. It grounds the theory in regional realities, connecting those massive global AI trends to very local consumer needs in places like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan.
Yes, it specifically references regional heavy hitters like Tabi, Nana, and Husby. It analyzes how these platforms are using AI for things like fraud detection, delivery intelligence, and user guidance. It really proves that AI can drive actual, robust regional growth models when it's properly adapted to local market gaps and specific consumer behaviors.
And finally, Section 6, the final AI verdict. All right, we've reached the climax of our explainer. We're going to do a rapid-fire Socratic debate on the most pressing questions for today's founders. Question number 1, can AI actually help startups compete with massive legacy companies? I say absolutely yes. AI gives lean startups massive strategic leverage. It allows a tiny team to scale operations, deeply personalize customer experiences, and innovate at a speed those big corporations simply cannot match.
Hold on, I agree it provides leverage, but the book is very clear here. It requires unique domain insight to be truly defensible. Just having AI isn't enough, because guess what? The big companies have AI too. Your true advantage comes from how you combine those AI tools with your unique, scrappy, entrepreneurial agility.
Okay, next question. Should every single startup adopt AI? I will firmly argue no. Dr. Momani points out that if AI doesn't genuinely align with your immediate business goals, or if your data just isn't ready for it, it becomes an incredibly dangerous, very expensive distraction. Sometimes, intentionally postponing adoption is a sign of immense strategic discipline, not technological weakness.
Man, that is a tough pill to swallow for a visionary tech founder. But you know what? You're right. Strategic alignment is absolutely everything.
All right, question 3. Can generative AI improve creativity, or does it just create overdependence? Look, generative AI is a superpower for startups. It accelerates prototyping, supercharges marketing, helps with ideation. It essentially acts as a venture acceleration technology.
True, but the book explicitly warns of something called the illusion of readiness. Founders can so easily mistake the speed of an AI-generated prototype for validated real-world market assumptions.
So yes, it totally supports creativity, but it absolutely cannot replace actual entrepreneurial judgment and real customer validation.
And honestly, that brings us right to the core thesis of the entire book, which is captured perfectly in this one quote. AI does not create entrepreneurial value automatically. It creates possibility.
Exactly. And we both strongly recommend this book because it forces you to understand that real value only emerges when the raw possibilities of AI are managed with disciplined, responsible, and highly focused entrepreneurial judgment.
So, we're going to leave you today with this final, somewhat provocative question. Will AI actually drive your venture's innovation, or is it just going to drive up your expenses?
If you want to ensure that you are adopting AI for survival, for real scale, and for true strategic advantage and not just for show, then Dr. Momani's book is exactly where you need to start.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the modern digital ecosystem here on The Explainer. We will see you next time.